Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Whitepod. My name is Harshit, and I'm the Director of Business Alliances at White Labs. We are a digital agency specializing in SaaS and e-commerce SEO. And I've got Anthony with me. He's the CEO of Performance Scoring, which is a total organizational employee performance management application and engagement platform delivering real-time, objective data and key results to executives, managers, vendors, and employees. A big welcome to you, Anthony, and I'm so happy to host you today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. As you said, my name is Anthony Piccolo. I'm the CEO of Performance Scoring, and excited to be here. So thanks for having us, and look forward to our conversation.
All right, Anthony, before we dive into your platform, can you please let our viewers know a little bit more about yourself and your professional journey so far?
Sure. It really started. I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur, but at 12 years old, I started a lawn service, which is a normal thing here. I'm in Texas, in the South of the United States, and single mother, that whole story, and needed to do something to help earn my way. And I really fell in love with the idea of kind of meeting people where they are and helping them in whatever their challenges may be. I went to school, university for international politics and diplomacy. My heart has always been around people and just understanding why they do what they do. We all live our lives differently. There's a lot of right ways to do it, a lot of wrong ways, but they're all different. And all throughout my younger years, I was always hustling, whether that was my lawn service or I had a small digital marketing agency, which actually I was a chief marketing officer for an oil and gas firm. And actually, after I left there, I bought a small online retailer and I was doing a lot of consulting work along the way. And one of my clients came to me and said, "Hey, we've got this challenge. We're all over the U.S. We need to find a way to QA, and QC our techs." This was in the oil and gas business and preventative maintenance, and they needed to find a way to get that information back to headquarters, back to the people who own the yard, to the actual completion company. So think of Halliburton or Baker Hughes or Schlumberger. And one of the things back then we would do is we would help organizations find technology off the shelf and help them use that or modify it in a little bit. The one rule we always had was never build it. And of course, we broke our rule and we said, "Hey, we'll take a stab at this." And as we got rolling through it, I'm like, wait, I think they're onto something. If this could be dynamic, this is an idea that could work for anybody. It's a way for people to really engage their people in the moment, provide that feedback, create those moments of self-evidency. That's when people really buy in and learn, is when they see it with their own eyes. You know what? If I do this, then I'll get that. Oh, I'm going to do that. But unless that person sees that, has that self-evident moment, then really change doesn't exist. So that was really the start. That idea was the start of performance scoring back in 2018. And we really started as a feedback platform, as a way to provide, to receive and provide feedback up and down and laterally across organizations, not just internally, but externally. And it quickly led into some of the further employee engagement pieces. So performance reviews. You can't really review performance unless you talk about how people perform, like their actual performance metrics. It's really hard to talk about performance metrics unless you understand how people get things done. So now you're into kind of some project management. All along the way, we're building this tool, and we had somewhat of an epiphany moment. We found out that our tools were being, well, somewhat like this. We're on a video conference, and people are just like they'll pull up their CRM in the middle of a video conference to go over their numbers, or Salesforce, or so we really looked at the market. We saw a huge gap. There's other tools out there. 90.io is one that's used a lot in the EOS world. And so we saw this gap. And one of the challenges that organizations have is that they've got all these tools siloed. And you've got all of these different decision makers that are over these individual silos. And they get in the room and they talk about something. They're the chief of their own little fiefdom, and then they have to get together and agree to an objective or agree to a historical narrative. Like, Harshit, how did we get in this room? Did you do this? Did I do this? Did Frank do this? And so what we wanted to do is, through our meeting management platform, is coalesce all these tools, not just ours. And look, ours are great, don't get me wrong, but we're not trying to be Walmart. We don't do everything. And so we wanted to build a platform around the tools that exist inside of our ecosystem, but actually embed or leverage those other tools, right? We're not competing with Microsoft SharePoint. We're not competing with HubSpot or Salesforce, but what we can do is integrate them well and context them around the whole employee experience. So when we get together in a meeting, we're working from the same deck, the same playbook. So we're able to get to the ideation, we're able to get to the discussion and the action items with intent and clarity, right? So when we actually move, we're moving with conviction together. And so that's probably a little bit longer of an answer than you were expecting. But my journey from 12 to 42 has really evolved around meeting people in the moment and trying to find the best path for collective success. And so performance scoring is the vehicle for that right now.
That's brilliant. And you've been doing a lot of things with performance scoring. I'd love to know, who is your target audience? What's your ideal main ICP altogether?
Absolutely. Performance scoring is a company itself and a platform. That platform has been white labeled into a few different industries under different brands. So for performance scoring specifically, our target is private industry. We work from enterprise level organizations, Fortune 100 level organizations, all the way down to groups of 2 people. I think we were talking earlier, and this idea that the one commonality that regardless of what you do professionally, the one commonality that we all have is we meet with people. So if you're a solo entrepreneur or solopreneur, whatever the new word is, you still meet with your prospects, your customers, your vendors, your partners. And so being able to coalesce all of these different tools that we rely on to execute our business, we can do that all in the same space, providing accountability. Target, like I said, if you meet, you're a target. Now, in terms of industries, healthcare, education, our product LoopSpire, that's one that I can name here in this webinar that doesn't legally affect anything. But so LoopSpire focuses on K through 12. So we're in school districts all over the country providing this resource for teachers and administrators and staff and students. So students being able to provide exit tickets and feedback to their teachers on their way out the door, saying that they understood the lesson or that the bathroom needs service, right? Our tool can be used in a lot of different ways. Parent feedback, there's just behavior. Our tools, we had a district last year that purchased our tool just for their transportation divisions. The bus drivers could provide better feedback on the student interaction on their bus. They would go all the way back to the parents. Yeah, it just depends on the industry. And our platform works in 143 languages in real time. So we have, for example, in the EPC world, we're working with organizations right now that they have architects in India, they're producing in Korea, they're engineering in Houston, right? And so they're having these multidisciplinary meetings with people that don't share their first language. And I'm sure you're familiar. It's hard when you're sitting there with someone else and they're speaking quickly and you're trying to follow along. And so we all nod our head, yes, we got it. And I'm looking at your screen that you're sharing. You're probably sharing a document or an agenda or a PowerPoint or a spreadsheet or whatever it is, but you're also sharing it in that language that maybe isn't your first language. So our tool just translates that in real time, the questions, the discussion topics, the ideation, being able to see that, hear that in person, and then being able to see it in your own languages really helps productivity. And our real whole goal in this is, and I bet you're familiar with this, you probably do a lot of meetings, and I know you do because we're in one right now, but how many meetings do you have that you set once and it turns out that meeting that you thought you were only setting one time was actually just a pre-meeting for the meeting that you need to have? And then you really need to have that third meeting, that post meeting, that recap. Our platform removes at least one of those meetings, if not 2. So we're saving time, we're saving money, and we're helping provide that clarity, consistency, and action, the actionable part that we really desire to meet. We would not meet, it would be an email if I didn't need to discuss it with you.
Let's talk a bit more about the core USPs. I'm liking what I'm hearing, to be honest with you. And I would love to know what are your unique value propositions, which kind of like sets you apart from the competition, because I know for the fact there's an like very competitive space altogether. Please.
Absolutely. I would say that one of our core differentiators in our value offering is that um, we're not just another tool, we're a tool that coalesces all of your other tools together that inform all of the stakeholders in the same way, creating a shared objective narrative. And so if you look at our competition in the meeting space, look, anybody can strap a timer on a meeting and send out an agenda and say, you're over time. Now there's all kinds of great AI tools. I don't know if you're using one now that can track our meeting that we're in right now. But what doesn't exist in the marketplace today is a way to context this meeting, the action items from this meeting into or pulling from an employee or from a vendor, right? Or pull that SharePoint, whatever document, PowerPoint, whatever it may be, right into this meeting. And then for us to create tasks and discussion topics around it that are actually always tracked with that thing. Because a lot of organizations think we're a Microsoft organization, so we're using Teams and we're using Planner. And when we talk about meeting management, a lot of people will just throw out, I use Zoom. Like that's a meeting management platform. It's a video conferencing platform. And we're agnostic to that. Look, we're on Zoom right now, and I'm actually running our meeting management platform here on the side. And this idea that we're back to just because you're a Teams organization or Microsoft, or you're a Google Suite, or how many times just because you're internally that way, but you're meeting with a customer and they want to meet on their platform, right? And so now you've lost all that stuff. So what we're trying to do is, again, we're trying to coalesce all these different things together to create a shared, stitched narrative so that we can all buy in and create action. There's nothing worse than the false agreement. And that's one of the things that our application really protects organizations against is false agreement. Because now, instead of showing up to get the reporting details to the inside of a meeting, right? I've got my own silo. You've got your silo of information. We're going to get together and then we're going to fight over whose information's better. Not fight, but we're going to discuss that, right? Our platform allows that to happen before this engagement ever takes place. So when we walk into that meeting, we're all fully prepared. A good meeting, if you're going to spend 30 minutes in a meeting with somebody, you should spend 5 minutes or less discussing numbers and reporting, because that's something that everybody should be able to do. If they're in that meeting, they should have access to it before they ever showed up. And two, the whole purpose of meeting is so we can ideate together. We can really solve problems or solve issues. And so our platform makes that process, like I said, much clearer, much more concise. It's efficient, and it really provides actionable insights and steps that we can track. And that's another thing. Look, everybody's got their project management tool, their performance that they're using. Most people use a payroll tool like Paycom or Workday or one of these others. And they all have their own like employee reviews and all these like little bolt-on things. Again, if your little bolt-on, which by itself is already insufficient, is bolted onto another silo that's not connected to any of the other things that matter, then how do you really have confidence in the decisions that you're making? And that's what we're trying to empower organizations with, is a clear and contexted confidence in the action that they're taking. And so we talk about our value proposition. It really comes down to, we're coalescing all this information together to save you time and create clear, concise, actionable insights and steps into the future.
Gotcha. All right, Anthony, so, and you mentioned a very interesting point that it's not just to conduct the meeting, but also drive value and have those action points. And there's a project management involved. But wouldn't you agree? And I'm talking with respect to business. Every business has some or the other methodology of project management. So many out there in the market. Well, there's Agile, which basically SaaS companies even use. Waterfall, I know traditionally, like a lot of marketing is still used. I don't know for what reason at this age, but even though it's 60s. But yeah.
Yep.
And then there's so many other. And
OS management experts, exactly. This is what's really interesting. So when I was saying a minute ago that Our application works in real-time translation, 143 languages. The one thing that I forgot to mention here, and this is really important. I said that our technology is white labeled in different spaces, right around different. So there is a whole movement in the United States around a concept called the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And so it uses very unique jargon, right? And management experts has very unique jargon, the timelines, how you think about tasks or to-dos or project, right? There's just a different philosophy behind it. So what our technology allows organizations to do from a very high level is actually change the jargon within the platform to match their management philosophy. So that way we can use the right terms, right? And one of the neat things about that is it allows us to stay away from trademark infringement. We're not an EOS company, but we support a lot of organizations that want to have their meetings in that EOS format. It's their choice. If they want to call a project a rock or a pebble or whatever, they can name it within the application. So anything that has that word project would be pebble or whatever it may be in your jargon. So it's a way to come around that. And then I want to take it one step further. And I know one of the things that our meeting management platform has done is we've really, again, coalesced around meetings. And some of the parts of that, whether it's employee engagement, performance, it can take a back seat because everybody has those things. But really a core value of performance scoring is we're trying to help organizations align their people, and we want people aligned to organizations. Money is a great driver of interest. It's a horrible keeper of people because guess what's always changing? Money, your experience, your value to the workplace. But especially when you're talking about Gen Z and millennials, these are purpose driven. They believe themselves to be purpose driven. And so one of the ways that performance scoring is helping organizations align their people is we're trying to create value alignment. So when an organization sets up their performance scoring account or with one of our white label partners, they're deciding what their organizational values are. So when they're coaching their people, they're reviewing their people, right? They're checking in with their people. All of those values are front and center throughout the whole process. In fact, when we review people, our philosophy is this. There are some people call this head, heart, and briefcase. There's a lot of really pretty ways to say this, but there are core competencies, skills, and behaviors that need to be exhibited in a role to exercise it well outside of the paper or certifications you need to legally do the job, right? So I need certain skills and behaviors. This is where we're trying to stand apart. It's not just skills and behaviors and then those core competencies, the requirements. It's actually the value alignment, right? I want people that share not just our values, but how we prioritize those. And if those are shared, truly shared, then that has a value, a personal value that's, I don't want to say greater than money, but it gets right up there in terms of like quality of life and how people perceive their place in an organization. So that's a core piece of how we're trying to think about this. It's not just jargon around what do you call projects, or what are your metrics around performance, or how do you look at those? How do you value that? It's actually, what do you value? Do you value generosity? Do you value excellence, right? What does excellence mean to you as an organization? What does humility look like? But it's so interesting when we look at a snapshot, and we have organizations, not just here in the US, but we in education, we have clients that are a part of the UK. So in looking at what their values are and the differences, it's amazing. And even intra industry, we really got kicked off in the very beginning in commercial services. So think of plumbing, HVAC, builders, right? And even in looking inside of commercial services, if you were to look, we got one HVAC company A and HVAC company B, both in the same geographical area, have completely different value sets. They pay people the same amount of money. They do the same kind of job. But how do people choose between A and B? It really comes down to some of that value alignment stuff. Of course, all things else being equal, that's the difference. And so that's where we really try to help create focus for our partners.
Gotcha. Because Anthony, you mentioned that businesses of all size use your platform. And I know for the sure that especially enterprise clients are way too concerned about data privacy and security.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to handling the performance data of employee altogether, that's crucial. How do you ensure that protection of the sensitive information as on your platform?
So that's a great question. One of our clients provides national security services to the United States. So you can imagine, even though that you sit in the AWS cloud, your database is RDS and you got all the stuff, your SOC 2, you got all the things. There's still insecurity around others' security. And so we've worked, whether it's in government, licensing it as infrastructure as a service. So our platform can actually sit as a licensed product inside of their environment. That's one of the ways that we've addressed some of those really strategic issues. And then also being able to, because every part of our platform was developed in-house, right? We're not using third-party tools, which restricts a lot of unnecessary access. Having everything encrypted at rest, in transit, leveraging. This is where Amazon really shines in a lot of their offering. And so we take security seriously, and we work with our customers to provide it. And this is one thing else I'd like to share. So when I was talking about how we coalesce all this information, there was a conversation early on. We learned this with some of the performance management pieces. So we would have a company early on before we offered performance management, and they would say, "Hey, we're using XYZ." And we're like, "Okay, no, it's great. We can integrate with them." And we still use Zapier, but there were other tools we would use our own REST API, connect to theirs, and go through the whole motions. Once you start walking down that road, and you probably know this as well as anybody, once you start integrating, you start walking halfway down the road. Yep. And then, so then you're already halfway down the road, and you're like, "All right, do we stop here? Do we keep going?" So on some of those things, we kept going, but this is where security, when we talk real specifically around security. So when we talk about inside of a meeting, being able to share, whether it's a third-party application like HubSpot, you can embed HubSpot in our application. So all of the security that's around HubSpot and whatever security parameters you put in there actually are reflected directly in our meeting. Same with our document management. We're not a document storage organization. And especially at enterprise level, it blows my mind. We've got some pretty substantial partners that are enterprise level, and it blows my mind. They might be using SharePoint for 90% of everything, but then there's the random Dropbox. There's the random drive, right? Or what's the other one? But anyway, so there's all these other tools. So what our platform is really allowing organizations to do, and this is a real selling point for us, is that, look, we're not trying to help you rewrite your security policy. You've already done it. You've already mastered it with SharePoint. So what we're going to do is you're going to embed SharePoint in here. And guess what? If that person who's in that meeting has access to that tool, whatever it is, then it'll show up. So for example, I'm in my meeting now. I don't have any embeds in this, but let's just say I have HubSpot in here and you're logged in as a guest. When you go to the agenda item HubSpot, if you're already logged into HubSpot, it actually shows your HubSpot. And when I'm in mine, it shows mine. But like most meetings, you've got somebody sharing their screen when they're talking about that specific stuff. So what it's allowing us to do is basically sidestep some of these really hard security conversations while also ensuring that their security requirements are met, because guess what? They've already had to meet them in that place that they're embedding into our application.
Makes sense. Right. And I would love to know what's the typical customer journey on your platform looks like, and how exactly is your pricing model?
Absolutely. So in the very beginning, it was very personal. We would do this by phone. We'd set it up on the back end and provide access. And of course, as things have grown and moved on, now that process can be done completely offhand. A customer can come to the website, they can sign up for a trial, they can actually build their organization immediately within 15 minutes. Or less, really, depending on how many people they want reporting to them and all, putting their values in and some of that stuff. They can get started immediately. And actually, they have their first 3 meetings for everyone already set. So they have an onboarding and implementation and a support meeting, which allows them to actually walk through the process just by logging in, how to use the platform. And look, depending on the size and scope of the organization or partner that we're working with, that gets deep quick, right? Maybe they've got certain workflows they want some customization around it. We'll work through that. But one of the neat things about our platform, and this is really what meetings did for us, we do employee engagement, reviews, check-ins, and real-time coaching and pulse surveys. And then we can also do performance management. Just blows your mind. You're like, oh my God, I can't do all these things. And actually, we only want one thing. Well, actually, what meetings helped us do was now they could just turn on the platform right out of the gate. And just by starting their first meeting, they can, they'll see, oh, look, wait, what's this? I can embed? Oh, I can embed. Wait, oh, and there's a scorecard here, but there's nothing in it. Oh, add objective. And then they just start walking through it, because the truth is, and we learned this a long time ago, and I'd be real interested to know your experience as well, as people say they want really good training, but what they really mean is they want no training. And if they do, they want it on their time. And so
it's a DIY age altogether.
Huh?
It's a DIY age altogether.
That is so true. So anyway, providing just the ability for people to have that menu of service and then being able to just walk right in the restaurant and they already feel, and that's what meetings has allowed us to do. Yeah, real simple. You just go to the website, you put in the coupon code, your credit card, which it doesn't charge you a month. And of course, you'll be checked in immediately after you get set up. Somebody will call you or send the email and go through the whole motions. And like I said, it's once you get into your dashboard, we tried to make it feel it's anything else. If you can use HubSpot, if you can turn on Facebook, if you've ever logged in, and we all, of course, everything's single sign-on. So if you're a Microsoft organization, you just hit login, or if you're Google, log in. If you've got a LinkedIn, you can actually log right in. So it just depends on what you're like in terms of the training, what's the size and scope. If you're a party of 2, it's really fast. If you're a party of 2,000, it's still quick, but we can work through some of that custom integration and solutions as we go. And I'll take you a step further. We learned this in education, right? Some of these school districts, the 50,000 student school district has about 25,000 staff. So how do you train 25,000 people to ultimately allow them to score or provide feedback on another 50,000? You better have a really good plan to do it. And part of it is making it so a lot of organizations, they'll start with us and they'll be like, hey, you know what? We're going to run with meetings. Maybe they were with 90.io and they didn't like that they couldn't actually track some of the performance metrics. And that's why they're moving over. They might start in meetings and then they learn real quick, hold on, I can actually check in with one of my employees here. And I'm an early adopter. Maybe you just we call them Franks in our company. Maybe you just have that one Frank that wants to start the check-in process. Frank is actually going to be the little center of the web that tells everyone else how to do check-ins. And that's really how our application grows organically within our partner organizations.
Gotcha. And Anthony, since you mentioned, and you're targeting journalists way too broad, to be honest, almost because it fits even a small organization to a larger organization to across industries. And the kind of other tools that the organization and industries use, and even how most of the SaaS market themselves is niche specific. So that gives so many number of accommodation and combination of the multiple tools. How good are you with the integrations? Like how much wide is your offering with respect to the integration of multiple tools that are out there in the market?
So I bet we're probably a lot like a lot of organizations where we started integrating by need, right? Hey, we have ADP, we want to integrate our payroll into this, and we want our old performance reviews are in ADP and we want to pull them in. And so we would start working through that. There's some really great tools that like Zapier has allowed us to integrate with so many more tools. So building those, allowing our clients to build those triggers and those actions within our application has really provided that resource and that ability, that functionality that our customers need. So I can't say enough about our gratefulness for Zapier for existing, because frankly, we've integrated with some very niche things that maybe one person uses one trigger and one action for, and Zapier has allowed us to answer that bell with confidence.
That's right. All right, let's talk a bit on the marketing front as well. I would love to know what strategies and what channels are you leveraging that's working for your own lead gen on your favor with respect to acquiring new customers, or I would love to speak even about the retention part as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in terms of our client acquisition, like probably a lot of other SaaS products, it's fairly multifaceted. We've relied, thankfully, on a lot of word to mouth because our platform inside of meetings, our clients are having meetings with their partners, their vendors, and their customers. They're actually acting as salespeople for us all along the way. And we've got a great referral program. So one of your clients or partners decides that they want a little more in depth, or they want more access into your platform, it actually ends up creating a profit center for our clients. So that's been very helpful to us. Now, in terms of some of the more, I will call it colder legion
Cold
things
outreach.
that we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We use whether it's trade associations. So we're big into executive coaching. That's a great space for us, leveraging some of those trade associations. Actually, in education, it's a critical piece of what we do for our Loopspire brand, which I think you can see it. Loopspire. Oh yeah, I've got my Loopspire background on. Loopspire is our educational products, just like performance scoring, but again for K through 12. So trade associations are really important. We do use some lead gen services as well. And really, we started trying to test the waters in that. And that's been as recent as over the last year. And I'm sure you're familiar, I'm way more familiar than I am, but there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, our own phrase for that. But so yeah, lead gen, trade associations, word of mouth. We obviously SEO or as much organically as we can get in especially in performance management space. You can spend $100 on a click for performance management.
That's competitive. Yeah, it's competitive.
We try to stay away from doing a lot of that. And then really webinars and podcasts and speaking engagements, that really provides a great space for us, because the truth is, well, especially around meeting management, meeting management is like talking about CRM in 2004. It's like, what's CRM in 2004? And now everybody's got a CRM. So that's how people approach. Like I said, if I'm talking to somebody that's either not looking for a way to make their meetings better or has never heard about it, most people would think of, oh yeah, I have meeting management, I use Zoom. I'm like, Zoom is a great video conferencing platform. It has some great AI and transcription tools, but it's actually not a meeting management platform. So really, there's some of that kind of goes with the territory. Education.
Yeah, that's something which really works. And I'm personally a big fan of inbound. And I do feel that educating people, that's basically the first step. They get to know about you, and then you try to bring down the funnel. And
And back to that thought too, again, the heart of performance scoring is to create moments of self-evidency for our users. So they don't just understand and they don't just see the information, but they actually believe it and they take it to heart. That's how our philosophy is when we're talking to prospects. One, we want to have the engagement to help create moments of self-evidency. Everybody wants to make their meetings more efficient. Everybody agrees there should be an agenda, right? But everybody also agrees that we should all eat healthy while we're in the drive-through to go to McDonald's or something. Education is a critical part of this. And the good news is this is a big blue ocean. While it's a space that's growing infinitely, it's still a blue ocean in terms of opportunity for growth and efficiency.
Yeah, it actually impacts on every level, every scale, every part of lead funnel altogether. So that is the key for sure. I'd love to know any new product development because of the niche you're in. Where exactly is that going? Any new thing?
So this is always one of those. I love listening to Elon Musk answer these kind of questions, because you're always, if you're not growing, you're dying to thing. Like I said, we started with feedback, got into employee engagement, performance management, all right, so meeting management. And so really one of the things that we've seen one of the things that we've been developing, we have so many, I would say, performance scoring specifically, about 40% of our clients are in the commercial services space. Again, that plumbing, building services and so forth. A lot of them use field service management platforms. And again, it's another silo. It's actually it's probably, they would argue, maybe the most critical place of help, whether that's the ticket assigning, getting their techs on site, going all the way through the invoicing process. Some of them do that. Some of them do it really poorly. Some of them integrate well. But one of the spaces that we're moving into is some of the field service management pieces, because if you think about it, we've got basically everything else other than that. And We've always thought about all of these modules as like building blocks that can be repurposed, right? The door is here for this block, but if I turn it here, it's still the same building. It just has a different way to enter and exit. Anything that we can do like that. And I'll tell you something that we're releasing next week. So I don't mind making this public now, but in our meeting management platform right now, you can vote up and down conversation topics. So our platform is used in the podcasts and webinars specifically. And so it allows the people in the meeting to up vote and down vote the question topics, or IDS if you're EOS, or those Q&A topics.
Can you also boo in the middle of the meeting?
Right.
Is there a feature? Is there a feature for that? Can you boo someone in the middle of the meeting if you don't like the question that they're putting forward?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. And actually, we have a detour button in our meeting. So how many meetings do you have when somebody like gets off topic? It allows somebody to hit the detour button on them. And so tries to keep the conversation on tap. So anyway, what's releasing here in the next couple weeks is an actual motion and voting system to be used in board meetings. And this is really important for in education, the school board meetings. So when they're actually going to vote, moving things to motion. What makes this really special is, again, you're able to embed all of these other tools that are outside of the application while leveraging all the things that are, and then you're bringing these topics up for actual motion and vote. So our meeting platform can be used for tracking voting, like real voting. So we're really excited about that.
That's correct. Right. I think, Anthony, we're coming to an end, and I would like to have a quick rapid fire with you. Are you ready for that?
Shoot.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received related to your work?
Fail fast.
Okay.
In technology, if you're going to fail fast, it's an iteration.
I agree. Okay. What one word do you want people to associate you with?
One word that I want people to say: honorable.
Okay. That's nice. Are you a spiritual person or not?
Yes, I am.
What was the last Google search?
My last Google search. Oh, you know what? It was actually right before this meeting. We were having a conversation on MP4 or WebM, and I was like, okay, what's the size difference on WebM versus MP4?
Right.
Literally.
Okay. Now coming to my very last question. So what never fails to make you laugh?
Whatever. Gosh, I don't know if you could tell in this meeting, but usually I always have a smile on my face. So I laugh at everything. I'm the worst guy to ever invite to a funeral unless you want somebody to tell jokes the whole time. The thing that never fails to make me laugh is probably my kids. I don't know. That's just something top of mind. I mean, I laugh at everything. Unfortunately, it's actually a nervous response. So like I said, don't invite me to your funeral, or don't have your family invite me anyway.
All right. Thank you so much, Anthony, for all the time, all the wisdom, all the experience that you've shared in the session. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your time and your efforts here. Thank you so much.
All right, Harshit, I appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.